In this episode of the Bayta podcast, I talked to Alex Balderstone, the co-founder of the online startup launcher AGORA. The company's branded the one-stop shop for early stage ventures, with the goal of guiding startups to an investment-ready stage. AGORA have launched events to support startup ecosystems in London, Barcelona and Birmingham, with many more places on the way. On the AGORA site, you will have access to a whole host of written and video content, from legal fundamentals to branding tips on social media. As well, you'll have access to the AGORA Toolkit from partners including Revolut, Stripe and HubSpot. Watch this podcast to find out how Alex plans to turn AGORA into a qualified fundraising platform and learn about his journey so far. Enjoy. Hello and welcome back to the Bayta podcast. Today I am joined with Alex Balderstone and he's the founder and creator of AGORA. Just quickly to preface, I know I've been away for a while, but more videos and podcasts coming soon. But let's get straight into it. So first of all, I want to ask what AGORA is, and can you explain to the audience in maybe 2 or 3 sentences what it is and what you're trying to do?
Sure. AGORA, in a nutshell, is what we call a one-stop shop for pre-seed ventures. In a nutshell, it is an online platform, virtualized platform for pre-seed financing. Started out as essentially a virtual accelerator, looking at bringing early stage resources for very early stage ventures together, but predominantly focusing on early stage financing now.
Cool.
Co-investment.
And Alex, I met Alex at university. Randomly, we were just sitting. I was in the business grid, and I don't know. I feel like you overheard me talking, or something. It was like, "Oh, you with Warwick entrepreneurs," or something like that. And then we just got chatting, right?
I think it's because I had a year out for exchange.
That was it, yeah.
Paris, so I knew you'd been doing a lot of things before.
See, I'm
so I was more curious, curious to see what you had been doing and what you were doing this year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that's how I discovered what you were doing with AGORA. I went to your first event. Oh, it was not your first event, but the first event that I've been to with Seed Legals.
Yeah.
Great event that you're putting on as part of your series.
Yeah.
We can talk about that a little bit later on. But let's go back a bit. I want to ask you, a few questions, sort of. Have you always been entrepreneurial, wanting to start your own thing? What was your background like? Pick any of these sort of topics and
sure. I mean, the age of what was I? Secondary school. I used to run a photography company.
Mm-hmm.
That came under the Young Enterprise Scheme, which you probably know. Is quite a big sort of scheme that's put in schools.
Yeah. So was this run by yourself?
You start off with a team.
Yeah.
You have like 10 of you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I did a similar thing.
80% of people don't do anything. And then you take it on for sort of 2-3 years after, you work out, you've got a few gigs with schools and, sort of other corporate affairs and private events. A few of us were running it. It's just quite fun, to be honest, because I'd never say I've been academically focused. Was originally going to do engineering at uni, not many people know that. And then I went to do law for a year at Warwick, and then I moved to business. Obviously I met you. So I've had 5 years at Warwick, a year abroad at AGC Paris as well.
I mean, your journey's been completely unorthodox for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know about engineering, so going from engineering to
law.
So
it was, you're in a school environment whereby, you're doing Oxbridge or something, very pushy. So you think you're doing science-based subjects, so that seems like the natural, male route to do something like that. You start to work out that, a number of schools, especially down in the southeast, don't really understand how you come out in a business school environment. So you start to tend towards that. That's when I got at Warwick. But as I said, did law for a year. You learn a lot doing it. Still a lot. I never regret the year I did there.
Yeah.
French law as well. But the change was one of the best things I would say I decided. But it did mean having 5 years at university.
Yeah.
Which in this country we're used to doing 3. If you're in Europe, you've basically got to do 5. You've got to do a master's as well. That's just how the French system works. For example, Spanish and Italian are equally. I set up a big conference called Warwick Congress, 2016 now. Yeah,
I wanted to talk about this. It's going to bring up next actually. Just briefly for a couple minutes or so, talk about what Warwick Congress was, because at the time it was an event that the university had never really seen before. No. I mean, how big did it grow to again? I mean,
first in 2016 it was basically off the back of changing course. For me, you do law and you move into a business school, you start to work out. Warwick and in the UK in general, most unis, there's no cohesion between departments.
Yeah.
And so you go to if you want to become a lawyer, you actually work out 50% do the GDL, so about diploma of law, non-law backgrounds. And what you work out is that a lot of people in business may want to go into that field, or all go into business. People don't really know the way that they want to go into those routes. So for me, it was really bring a forum together whereby you know, everyone can have a platform to understand what we had, you know, finance, economics, law and politics. We, for our first year, took 3 subjects.
Yeah.
You know, core subjects that we saw as important in that year, and we dissected them from 4 different standpoints. I mean, this is a whole other conversation
of course,
in itself.
But it could go on for so long.
Yeah, I mean.
So who are some of the names that you brought in?
Oh, we had, you know, CEO of DLA Piper first year, CEO of Eon, you know, a board member from Santander at the time, Vince Cable.
Yeah.
What we did was build, you know, one of the largest student teams at Warwick in 6 months. Same, you know, the same budget as the other largest student teams at Warwick. Had 350 people for our first year.
And for you, how difficult or how important was the process of knocking down on people's doors to get them to come to
No
us?
one helps you, they don't believe, you know. A 19-year-old, you know, was mates was building up to a team of 30 to 50, so what was it, eventually 70, was going to do something like that. You know, I think the biggest thing for me was, you know, without trying to say names because I could go off at a tangent, a lot of people at Warwick have never actually gone outside the country to see what happens in Europe. And when you start understanding the conferences like, you know, START, Summits and Garden Symposium, you know, EBS, which we still, you know, I say we, you know, the Congress still has good, very good partners, you know, these budgets are running into the millions. And, you know, that's starting to build up to what Warwick SU is. As, you know, 250 societies under one. We don't look outside our own, you know, break walls. We like to look at what we're doing and don't go outside of that. That was probably the biggest thing.
So it also taught you as well to be, you know, organising such a big event on I assume, a very low budget compared to the rest of these.
Oh, I got kicked out of Deutsche Bank HQ in Frankfurt, Deutsche Börse HQ, asking, you know, finding speakers. I turned up
literally going outside the country as well to get
the WTO the day before and got a meeting with a guy called Bernard, the head of external relations there, you know, fantastic guy. And I knew they used to have, you know, the old, what's his name? I should know, Pascal Lamy, the old head of the WTO, speak for Warwick before, and, you know, got myself into the meeting there as well. You know, great experience, great people. But, you know, we don't do that. I don't know if that's just an English trait.
No, I know what you're saying.
But, you know, we've never built, you know, when Warwick Economics Summit started, which is, you know, the other big thing at Warwick, you know, it built up from, you know, I don't know, a few speakers. I think it was 3 speakers when it started. That's what it is now. But, you know, they've never tended towards what happens in Europe. So that's where we got.
So you saw a niche in the market that needed to be filled.
More or less, you could say that. You know, half the delegates in first year are externals. You know, that was like, you know, 20 universities, you know, being represented. And that's why we were going to Germany, to Switzerland, to Spain to make that happen.
So going on from Congress then. You've gone on, and so this was in your second year at uni, or was it second?
So when I changed course, my new first year, going into second year.
So then you had 1 more year, took your year out.
That was a limbo year.
At what time did the creation of AGORA start?
When I was at HEC. So HEC is the biggest academic partner of Station F. So, you know, I suppose you could say entrepreneurial spirit over there is a lot more practical than what we have in the UK. I worked on an ICO for about 3 months in the centre of Paris for a cybersecurity blockchain focused startup, which was different, very different, but you know, that's when I started to...
How big was that team that you were working with? Initial coin offering, if that's what it was, right?
I think it raised about 20 mil in the end, I believe. I think we've got a big cap, it's still ongoing. I've been out of the loop on that for a while, but you know, it was a fairly small team, a lot of people based outside of France. Very different, but you know, AGORA came later on in that year, more towards when I was coming back. You know, I had an internship at the Bank of England last summer, which for all intents and purposes was a very good team, but not something that I wanted to tend towards. But you know, I met my co-founders, you know, Trish, who used to run the Warwick Incubator.
Excellent lady.
Which is the first student incubator in the UK. And you know, Trish had worked quite a bit in sort of, you know, very early stage VC, pre-seed financing. My background was I created my own thing. You know, I think it's probably worth saying that the Congress wasn't anything under the student union. It is now, but it was all independent. So, you know, getting the accountants, the insurers, the lawyers,
of course, all the business side of things.
You need the support framework for that. So for me, it was, you know, understand what we can do with that, and then you start to look at what's out there, and you know, everything's decentralised. So that's how we started to move along with a virtual accelerator approach. A lot of people have tried it; it's never worked. You know, our part moved on to very early stage financing.
So can you briefly explain to people that are listening that might not know, what is an accelerator, an incubator, just in general, not just what AGORA does, but maybe you can explain what they do for early stage companies.
Sure. So I think it's probably quite important to split incubation and acceleration into different stages. Incubator, we're looking at, you know, let's just say a physical group, a physical construct, bringing ideation and conceptualization together, and helping people that are probably still in the realm of studying or working at the same time to be able to build up their business to a stage at which they have the basic product that's working. An accelerator is obviously beyond that.
They've got something.
They may be tending towards financing. They've proved a concept. They've put a very basic MVP, so minimal viable product in the market, and are tending towards something that may be more full time for them as well.
And so, where do you feel that Agora places on that spectrum?
We're looking at, I'd say, both. The thing for us is that you've got to look where our revenue model is, the intended revenue model, and economies of scale, who you want to bring on. So a big issue for us early stage was understanding how many people in this country actually understand what you've got to do to get to an investment ready proposition. And if you're in, I think it's probably important as well to say we do look at student entities and students in general, but university entrepreneurship is not fantastic in this country.
I mean, we've had many discussions about how it sort of fails in comparison to a lot of the US universities.
Or even the Swiss, I use that example a lot. But what I'd say is, our model is very basically, you're starting off, we want you to get to an investment ready proposition whereby we can put you on our funding platform. Early stage pre-seed focused. So what we're saying is, we have a platform whereby we can say we've got 20 stages, and you've got to do X amount of these and get up to a certain rating before whereby we say you are qualified and we think you're ready to do this proposition. So, partners for us at the moment range from like Revolut, Tide, Stripe, company formation agents, insurtechs as well. And so they plug in with what we're doing, we put them in through APIs, and we say we can get your account sorted out, we can register your IP, and look at the fundamentals for that. It's not a foolproof process, it very much isn't, because you've got to look at the weighting, what processes are different. You could have a fantastic idea and have work 10 years at Microsoft, and not have any of this done, but be out in 4 months and already making revenue.
I see.
So this is again, we've got a bit of manual interaction here as well. On the side of that, that's the first stage process. We're saying we're working with, we're looking to work with a number of, further stage accelerators in the UK as well, and in Europe, whereby we know they're quite, investment ready already because they've moved along that process. So they skip that process. They can still go back to it if they want and come onto the platform. We check the decks, we check, what proposition they want to, and as long as they're meeting sort of a criteria whereby we know the investors on the other side want to get into it, we put them straight on. I mean, in a nutshell, the funding platform is, going a bit beyond crowdfunding. So it's a co-investment model like crowdfunding, but we're looking at retail investors that put in a minimum of approximately £5,000, micro VCs, angels, and some angel networks. We're putting in a mechanism whereby the company valuation fluctuates as well, because for us, we think that crowdfunding is not perfect, and a lot of the valuations are out of proportion. So we keep that as a live update going along, and with a number of investors as well who want a lot of that investment readiness done and are dealing with a lot of these guys. We'll make sure that that's done before they go.
So I want to take it back. Let's go. I am a young early stage company. I've got me and my co-founder. We're building a platform for whatever the product is, and we've got our initial website up. Still both got full-time jobs. Talk me through how I should be using the Agora platform as it is today and as it will be in the future.
So for the time being, as we sit here at the end of August, we've got 20 grand's worth of affiliate benefits, whereby about 20 of our partners will give you special deals for whatever service you're trying to get up with. It's cloud credits, for example, free bank accounts, free trials, and things like that. We have a lot of content being pumped out at the moment.
And are these also exclusive offers as well, some of that you've got, or is it?
It's not impossible to go and find them anywhere else, but what we're saying is we group them all together.
So it just makes it easy for you to find.
We have a lot of content coming out at the moment in line with the central curriculum that we have and building our own course around that. And we've started off this month, and we are every month now. We've got about 4 events going on in London, regional locations in the UK, and in Europe as well. We're just testing the beds over there in terms of looking at how we get investment ready, legal fundamentals, growth marketing, a range of
Let's go back to the online lessons as well. They're all completely open for everyone to view. Whether I can just go onto the website now. And the content, also events, they're all open, free, go to network.
All free as well.
So maybe talk us through some of the events that you've ran already, how successful they've been, what sort of companies have you seen coming along?
It's a real range.
Yeah.
We've just done 3. We have our 4th in Barcelona this week, but they range from getting investment ready was one that we linked in with Karen Unsworth, Virtual Counsel, and Anthony Rose at Seed Legals, which was essentially looking at how to get legally ready for when you're starting off. We did one just this past Friday in Birmingham on sort of regional ecosystems, which was more sort of fireside chat. We have one this week in Barcelona on essentially ideation to startup fundraising at pre-seed level. Spanish market completely different, obviously. We're looking at a lot next month in terms of growth marketing as well, agile workshops, which I know we've been talking about as well. Real range. I wouldn't say there's a hard and fast way to do this, but we just know that in terms of actually, you can build an accelerator, a virtual platform, but you've got to have that physical relationship with people at the end of the day.
Of course. So, okay, we've got the resources, we've got events that are coming up, online courses, and then affiliate partnerships. The future of Agora, where do you see that going? And maybe, I know we've touched upon it, but let's talk more about the investment side of the platform, which is how you guys are going to be making money, right?
Sure. So we're a couple of months off of having our funding platform up, which is the main construct and the central construct of what we're doing. So the bit that I've been talking about in terms of getting investment ready, API plugins, and actually having a dashboard in front of you, which is giving you essentially succinct and useful business information of where your startup is. That's the very early stage of what we're building. That all feeds into the funding platform. So the basic co-investment model, we are the intermediary. We work with you when you're going through a standard 45 to 60 day period on getting your fundraise done. We sign up the investors on the other side. They see what's coming up. There's a bit of basic AI on the software that we're looking at using at the moment to understand investment theses of the investors. We co-invest together. We put some caps on if people with larger ticket sizes are able to get involved. On the other side, the startups are coming on once we believe that they're ready to do an early stage raise.
And what typically do you think is going to be the minimum and sort of the bands that most people will fall into, the amount that they're going to be raising for the first?
I wouldn't say we're saying no to seed.
Yeah.
The revenue model is basically a commission on a fundraise. Most of these work. We've looked at a few. But anything ranging from early 100,000 approximately to a few 100,000.
And what are some of the challenges you think we'll face of getting investors on board to this fresh platform that you trust the startups that you're presenting to them? And I know that you're saying you're going to go verify them, but maybe talk us through some of the challenges of convincing these investors to invest in your platform and the companies that
I think
you're
the
working
two
with.
big things are trust and early stage market. I mean, I think if you're still looking in this country, there was a good report that came out recently which said when you look at VCs in this country, only I think it's 8% are past founders. As you compare it to the US, it's 40%. So we've always had this lag in this country of very early stage investment is still maturing. We're seeing more of the EF funds, the entrepreneur first funds, come around at the moment. And look at the early stage market, but EF is not perfect. It's definitely not perfect, and it's still taking a lot of time. Again, Europe's still behind us, but a lot of conversations with our a few family offices and micro VCs that we have are they want to put a number of startups towards what we're doing. Because they will go into a lot of accelerators at the moment for coffee mornings, for example. But they can't write a check below 250 or 300,000, and we still haven't really got into this mentality even in the accelerators that that's not really moving anything on for anyone. So I think it's still going to take a bit of time for people to understand that. I mean, we've got to balance the economies of scale between having a lot of users on with the quality, which I think takes the second point is the whole point of quality. We've got a team fortunately of 14 of us, about half of us do work in the VC and angel investment space. So it's not like we're just a bunch of students coming out of uni, which is a lot. You can get this question a lot.
Of course.
But how are you going to pick what qualifies you to pick a good startup? Where have you got this referral from? I mean, as I say, we're lucky in the way of we do get a lot of referrals come through to us. I want to see what we're doing. From other early stage accelerators moving on to us because they're just giving a few 10,000 grant funding at the beginning. But I'd say those really are the two areas that we're looking at there.
Cool. Right, we're back. So I want to ask, at the moment, how many people are you seeing come through the platform? And do you have sort of more details on the retention? What things on your platform that people are drawn to? Is it more the courses, the events that people are interested in, or the affiliate partnerships? What do you think's driving most of the value at the moment?
I think it's probably important to put down that the beta's been up for like a month and a half.
True.
So it's very hard at this stage to measure what's happening.
Yeah.
I'd say
any sort of initial telltale signs that you got a feeling of?
The physical benefits are usually where most people start to understand what the problems are and what they can do from it.
Yeah.
Very simply.
Okay. Maybe so when you say physical benefits, do you mean
actually going to an event, networking with people, meeting who's in their space? I mean, you came to the event with Seed Legals, for example. When you're understanding how Seed Legals as a platform works, it's very good. And it does a lot of things that it just says what it does on the tin, but people don't realise that. Look, I was for us looking for like employment contracts the other day. Just by chance, I didn't realise that on the platform you can do that as well. Yeah, it has everything. I mean, we're
Just briefly, do you want to explain just in 2 words, not 2 words, 2 sentences, Seed Legals, what they're up to?
Does all your legals for a fundraising round.
Perfect.
In a nutshell.
There we go.
One-stop shop for doing your legals for a fundraising.
Yeah, and that's one of your partners.
Yes,
so, sorry, carry on.
So, we equally we enjoy working with Seed Legals. I think what they're doing is really good as well. Again, everything's not perfect.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things in terms of we're looking at bringing the channel in for the fundraisers. All the legals beyond that. Instead of paying 4 times what you may do with some lawyers, for example, you can do all of it on there.
Yeah.
So it's an important consideration for us to say we can link in with them and say okay, both sides, the investors and the startups. Due diligence side. I mean, due diligence pre-Seedrs basically who's your team and are they there? What's your passport, etc. But a lot of these considerations on the cap tables, the founders' agreements, shareholders' agreements, etc., are important for us to link in with what we're doing because we don't want to be doing that.
Because what it seems to me that Agora is going to be massively beneficial for is just increasing the speed that companies can launch at, right? Suddenly, if you have partners like Seed Legals or your partners that deal with their accounts, that maybe early founders, maybe they're just tech enthusiasts and they don't really know the business side of things, actually you can provide that. And also with your team, you can do the due diligence as they're progressing to then get them onto their first fundraise.
I mean, again, I think there's 2 things here. I think, the first thing is people are starting to realise, what SMEs want. And not that you've got to go to big corporates or big accountants anymore to do most of your your admin work and do everything. And I think the second thing is people are starting to work out the crowdfunding's. I'm not saying had its day. That's probably not fair, but there's a lot of issues which I'll come on to. But if you look at Tide for the moment as well, they've got approximately 100,000 SME accounts on. That's about 10% of the market. Seed Legals is now doing from memory 8%. Roughly, 1 in 10 early stage fundraising rounds at the same time. I think SCIS and EIS territory. I didn't know about this, until about 6 months ago. What's crazy is, especially when you're in a university environment, if you want to fundraise, very early stage rounds, or I believe EIS is up to about 400,000. No one knows about it. It's been a great incentive that's been in the UK since I think 1992, where about 2 billion has been invested. Where for people that don't know. Angel investors can save up to about 50% of their corporation tax by investing in early stage businesses.
Yeah.
So, if it does go, the wrong way, they're obviously getting a rebate on that as well. But it's encouraging, an early stage environment in the UK.
Yeah.
I think what people are starting to realise is, there are more digital platforms, Tide, Seed Legals. One of our partners is called Crunch. Very based actually in Brighton.
My hometown for anyone
who
doesn't know.
Yeah. So. Distance-based accountants all online. 10 years ago, this wasn't something that people would consider. And now for us, it's about putting all of that together. Again, sure, that's a minority part of what, a minor part of what we're looking at. But again, that comes on to, what's wrong with crowdfunding. I don't think a lot of people realise that if you're using the Seedrs or the crowd cubes, a lot of the time you've got to have 50-60% of that fundraise done in your private and family rounds.
Yeah. He's talking about from the company perspective.
Yeah, from a company perspective, if you're a startup on any of these platforms, they want you to have most of your fundraise done already. And this is what we're trying to do in terms of formalising the family and friends round. Okay.
Yeah.
The fees on it are not cheap. You're looking at 6 or 7%. We're looking short under that at the moment, not much less. Between 4 and 5. But once you've added another £5,000 of marketing on with Seedrs as well at the same time. Sure, on the tin it says, we've had 700 mil of, fundraising go through our platform, but that's because they have to have, they have a lot of account managers on the inside actually looking at what is happening, and making sure there's going to be a successful fundraise, because if not, their reputation goes, down the drain.
Slightly downhill.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's been a fantastic initiative. What's the Danish one, funded by me, I believe, as well. There's a lot of very good.
It gets people interested in.
It's diversified
new technology,
the early
right?
stage. Yeah, exactly. It's given other people, access to putting it in. But the thing is, like, if you start to work out, people don't want to write checks anymore. Roughly below a few thousand, because the thing is, the paperwork, they just don't care. A lot of the, even some of the paperwork that you may be doing as an investor on seed legals at the end of the day, or doing a fundraising round, if you're investing below a few thousand, it is not worth it. So that's for us why we're looking at, I mean, sure, I'm 23 and sitting here saying this, but instead of putting, some savings into a pension fund, for instance, put it into, something more high risk, and that's why we're looking at the minimum retail value being approximately 5,000. Something more serious, something which, but is actually meaningful at the same time, and allowing that to co-invest with more serious players, so you get a chunk of a bigger venture, up to the amounts that we've talked about, but not something, piddly where you or me could do it.
Yeah. I think I want to ask you a question, which is, so we've talked about Agora, what your sort of value is and how you're going to help the startup ecosystem. I want you now, just from your experience, to maybe give your top 3 or 4 pieces of advice to the 2 university students, or the 2 young people working a graduate job or whatever it might be, that have got their company, they've got an idea, what should be the first things they should be doing, and maybe some helpful advice that you would have given yourself that you now know, having started Agora.
Well, this may tend towards what Gary Vaynerchuk may tell you a little bit, but I think a lot of what he says is quite valuable.
Yeah.
I think, the first of all is look at how much time you are wasting. If you're on the tube, you can be working. The number of people that don't, and sitting there and not moving anything on, you've got to look at the other free time that you have in the day. Yeah. If you're doing your 9 to 5, that's fine and great. We've all got to pay bills, but look at the time beyond that. What are you actually doing in that time? You've got to start looking at and this may sound a bit arsey, but who are you spending your time around? How much free time do you have? How much value are you getting out of your job? You've really got to start asking, where do you want to be in life? If it's comfortable, you want a shiny car or whatever, fine. You may have that as your, what you want to be doing, and you consider that a need, go with that. But if you want to be doing something more at the end of the day, and you're complaining because you're going out and drinking or whatever, or come on, think about it. You've really got to engage. If you're in it's different if you're in uni or a grad. If you're in uni, I think the main thing is you've got to really think, how much is that course giving you? I can't complain for what it's given me. But I will complain in terms of what I've studied, because I've learned very little. I would say, you're sure it's diverse, but it gives you a lot of free time. So be that with Congress or be that with Agora, do something more is what I'm saying, and don't wait until the end of graduating to then go, I need to do something, because bills are going to start coming in.
It's very similar to sort of my view of university. What I learned, I did enjoy, but I don't know how much it will help me. And it's the stuff outside that was important. So let's summarize that as number 1 is being self-aware of who you're surrounding yourself,
how much time you've got going with you at the moment,
and realise your goals as well.
And question what you're doing. I think that's the main thing. If you are in, to put it very nicely, a dead-end function, and a dead-end job that you don't really know what you're doing, and you're spending most of your nights going out, sure, that will be great for a few weeks, maybe a few months, but what's the point?
Question yourself.
If you've always wanted to build something, do it. Go out there and do it.
So let's go on second point. So let's say you've got the right mindset, you've got the right vision, you're self-aware. What next for those couple of people starting their company that you think is a really important value?
As much as I don't do it much, read. Just be so aware of what you are. I think it's probably, we haven't touched on it, but you may be in Birmingham, you may be in Bristol, you may be in Edinburgh, Manchester, London. The ecosystems are completely different wherever you are. But go to the heart of where that major support network is coming out of. I would say 8 times out of 10, unless you're in Oxford, Cambridge or London, is probably not your university in terms of support networks. But I think this is just something that I do on the side with Ratco running an accelerator up in Birmingham, which is launching next month.
a lot of these ecosystems, especially out of London, are so small that once you've been to a few events and a few of the the startup spaces of the old science parks, you more or less are starting to get to know most people there, and they'll point you in the right direction. Virtual resources, I don't, this is my problem. You can read a lot online, but a lot of it's crap from people who haven't run businesses. A lot of the resources online are not there. Honestly, for me, it's just knocking on every single door that you can do, getting out of your comfort zone as much as possible, and saying, I have an idea, I want to move it on. It's going to take at least a number of 6 months, I would say, be it if you want to get up to your MVP or even a clarified proposition of what you're doing. But just knock on every door. If that goes to connections at the end of the day, partnerships, it really depends on your business model. You've just got to go completely out there to to people. People is where things are at, and to end on that, 6 months ago, from what I'm doing now, a lot of the people that we engage with now, I didn't know any of them. But it was just coming down on the train most of my weeks, to London,
interacting, going to events,
because you see the same people after a while. And then you start to work out most people know everyone, and before then you're in a lot of different WeWorks and other accelerators, and you're seeing the same problem. That's for me anyway. So
I think we'll summarise too as reading: be aware of your surroundings, what's going on in real life, and knock on doors.
Your university is usually, if we're talking about students, not your best place to go to. That's why I say Oxford and Cambridge and London are an exception, because they've got a lot going for themselves in terms of just satellite hubs. London isn't, but in terms of Oxford and Cambridge, it's really physical contact.
And let's do one more, so we'll round it off at 3. Third and final advice: so you're commercially aware, you've got your motivation, you've got your head stepped on. What's one last piece of advice that you could give to a fleggling startup? I think
we said this. Be aware that if you want to start your own thing up seriously, a paycheck's not always going to come in the post. A salary is not guaranteed, and it's I hate the term grinding, and actually being so focused that you've got to do what you want to do, but it is really focused around that. And you've really got to be aware that you may get yourself into a hole, but it's the people who succeed who find the way out of that hole. 5 to 10 times it's going to happen to you, but if you let it stop you at the first hurdle, sure, you're learning, but you need to learn more then. I think to end off on that, university is the time where you can afford to muck up so much. I think there's a hell of a lot of pressure in the UK nowadays, especially at places like we've been, like Warwick. A lot of the I suppose the Russell Group unis as well, in terms of you've got this mentality you've got there, and the only thing that 3 years first of all is too short to do any degree, because you don't learn anything about yourself in that point, nor what your studies are. But you've got to get this perfect grad job. But people don't realise up until 30 or even more, 35, your responsibilities are so much less than what you're going to have beyond that, and that's the time to muck up and try everything.
I think that's pretty much my sort of ethos with things as well. No, I completely agree. Exactly, that's why I started this whole podcast. Last question, or second last question, just quickly, if you could tell yourself one thing at the start of Agora that you realise now, what would that be? What would that advice be that you've gone, that would have sped up what I've done, if there is anything?
I think when you're raising yourself, be that investment or networks or whatever, I think because the market is so, I don't want to say so undertapped, but people haven't done it before. You've really got to knock on every single door. Just you've only got to get one yes at the end of the day for whatever you may want to do. But it's going to take, just fundraising, it's going to take 6 months. More or less. People don't know that, and not one thing in university will tell you that.
And so now that you have that knowledge, so going forward, it's going to massively help you with your estimations of what you're doing when
especially if you're raising any finance, if you're looking for any specific partnership in the future, everything is slower than you think it will be. So I think say yes to everything that a good phrase is say yes to everything that comes along, and work out how to do it later. Perfect.
Quick thing before we go on to some closing questions. What are some of the startups or technology you're seeing at the moment that's getting you excited? If there's any particular company you've seen raise money or any technology that's coming out, what's on your radar at the moment?
So we were interviewing for this Birmingham accelerator last week, and I think in the UK, everything that you get regionally is very different to what you get down in London. I think, first of all, it's quite important to put tech isn't really tech anymore. Tech is pretty much everything that you see down in London and the southeast. Regionally, most things there's a lot of freelancers. There's a lot of retail companies. But I was pleasantly surprised last week to see things ranging from insurtech to cybersecurity to blockchain. We had apps from Spain, from US, from London, which I was quite surprised at again. I think insurtech, you're probably better to ask Rahul about this than me.
I'll get him on the podcast.
Another mutual friend of ours. But we had, without going into too much detail, because I don't know how much detail I can go into, but smart cities, internet connectivity, how we have one app which, without giving it away, cars connecting to insurance providers, where road accidents are happening, where potholes are, interconnectivity between essentially automotive networks. I've never seen anything like it.
It's this rise of big data.
I think so. So again, I've always tried to keep it very general. I don't like putting myself in a hole, hence what I do. But I think that's got a lot of promise in it.
Okay, so we're going to finish up quickly here with some closing quickfire questions. I haven't changed these in a while, so I'll change them in the future, but we're stuck with the old ones for the moment. The biggest person who's influenced you?
That's you're going to have to cut this.
Well, you can say it and then I'll decide whether I cut it.
That's a great question. I wouldn't say I have one person that highly influences.
Let's pick one or two. Who's off the top of your mind at the moment?
That comes up into my mind from there. The thing is, I wouldn't say there's one person,
Quick fire questions, Alex.
They're not quick fire, aren't they? Honestly, don't have an answer for that.
Okay, next one.
You're going to have to cut that.
At the moment, who's your favourite music artist?
I listen to everything.
These are quick. Come on, Alex. Just one at the moment that you're listening to. Cool. If you could speak to 3 people, dead or alive,
who would I speak to? Einstein.
Yeah.
Buzz Aldrin. Is he still? No.
Is he the second man on the moon?
I think so. Yeah. I should know this. And Obama.
Cool. Short or long Bitcoin?
Long.
Netflix or read?
Netflix.
The honesty, I like it. Audiobook or real book?
A real book.
Winter or summer? It might be a biased question right now.
Winter.
Yeah. It's really hot.
I have an ice cube in this tree.
Yeah. And if you could recommend one book?
I don't read a hell of a lot.
Podcast, video, or anything else? Maybe recommend a bit of content.
Watch Gary V.
Watch Gary V. Cool. We've already had that from Phil Neal. Do you know Phil?
No.
Okay. He's from Birmingham. Anyway.
I should know.
Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Alex, thank you so much for coming on.
Appreciate it.
You'll send me over details. I'll put Agora links in the description. Any other useful bits of information, post there. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks a lot.
And I'll see you in the next video.